You might not realize this, but AI is changing money fast. Remember when budgeting was a spreadsheet nightmare? Maybe, maybe not, right?
Yeah. And now it's just, hey, AI, tell me where I'm wasting money.
And boom, it tells you that you spent $142 on Taco Bell in the last 3 weeks. I know you.
Which, by the way, is weirdly specific and almost seems a little bit intrusive.
Look, man, AI is changing the money game around the world and fast.
In today's podcast episode, we talk about all the tools, the traps, and how to stay in control. In today's podcast, we talk about all the tools, the traps, and how to stay in control before the next AI evolution.
I love that. Do we need my last line or should we end it right there?
No, do it. And then full podcast below.
Gotcha. I love this last line. You're going to want to hear all this before your bank account becomes self-aware.
So I want to tell you that this weekend, ChatGPT actually helped me negotiate a credit card annual fee and saved me $300 in just one day.
That's actually crazy. You know, I actually have a personal anecdote myself. I was going over some real estate deals that I was trying to analyze to put in a good offer for my wholesaling thing. And, you know, it broke it down in a way that honestly only an expert would know. And that's just how it's been helping me financially. Maybe you guys in the comments, maybe you guys have a way as well. Feel free to drop it down below. We're all about sharing new tips, tricks, and traps to avoid. But that's what today's episode's all about, which I'm stoked for. So let's get into it. Yeah.
So let me ask you, Dominic, and to our audience member, have you ever used an AI tool to manage your money?
In what sense do you mean manage? Because I have not given my routing numbers over to the mighty ChatGPT just yet. But explain that a little bit. What do you mean by manage?
I don't know. Maybe tell you how to run your budget, how to invest your money, how to optimize your taxes. Basically, would you trust a robot with your bank account?
You know, an interesting question and inverse to that is, would you trust a human with your bank account? You know, what's the trust level on that versus the AI? I'll say this. I use ChatGPT for counsel all the time. I would argue maybe even daily, right? Maybe even daily. Maybe not as daily, but like almost daily for counsel. To be honest with you, I think I would. I think I would trust ChatGPT with my bank account. Maybe not directly plugging it in. You know, I kind of like the final say. I don't like full automation, full autopilot for me just yet. But then again, I don't know. What about you, viewers? Would you let ChatGPT run rampant with your paycheck? I know if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that can seem very scary. What if it makes a mistake and you can't come back from it and you have to go another 2 weeks without money?
It's definitely scary. And right now, AI is actually getting substantially stronger when it comes to our personal finance tools, from budgeting to automated savings and investing to even credit monitoring and alerts. There's current apps like Copilot, Monarch Money, YNAB that are using AI to categorize all of your spending and then actually make it into insights. Some of them will even offer you real-time advice like, hey man, you need to cut back on Uber Eats. And it'll give you these types of prompts as you're going through the month. So tell me, Dominic, how would you feel about that as you're trying to make your expenses if your AI assistant or your AI tracking software is saying like, bro, you need to stop going to Uber. Like you need to stop doing this.
I think this is one of the most revolutionary things to happen in finance and in many, many years, right? A lot of people won't come to, say you, Chris, right? You manage people's money, you manage people's finances, you create financial plans for them, right? You get to know them as a person and on a human level, and your background in psychology helps you better understand their habits so that you can, you know, better help them, right? But a lot of people don't want to come to you, Chris, because they're embarrassed, right? Or they don't want to spend the money. And I put more emphasis on the first one because really most people, one, they're scared to look at their bank account. Maybe when was the last time you guys checked your bank account, right? When's the last time you did a budget, right? But coming to you, Chris, right? That's like, oh man, we're putting it all out in the line in front of me, but also in front of you. And you're going to, and I know you're not a judgmental person. You can care either way. That's just who you are, right? But for the person who is in a bad financial situation and I'm embarrassed. I don't want to share it with anybody, right? AI could be the perfect pairing for them because it's like, let's be honest, people. Let's be honest. We're gonna lay it all out on the field. You've said some stuff to ChatGPT that you wouldn't say to other people. You might have used it as your therapist, as your mentor, as a father, a mother. Right? We've all done it. We've all done it. Right? I was talking to. I'm not gonna BS you. One thing you're gonna get on this channel is honesty. I couldn't fall asleep last night, and I'm like, ChatGPT, give me a David Goggins bedtime story. It crafted the most devious bedtime story ever. It was hilarious. I was like, oh, this is just too funny. I was like, all right, now it's like, now I gotta go to bed. 40%, you're not all there. It was just, yeah, it was a really mean story. But yes, I believe AI will be the most transformative thing between finance and people. And I'm hoping that it shifts the conversation shifts the culture of living paycheck to paycheck to, man, we can actually live a good life now. What do you think, Chris? Do you think it can be used?
Yeah, I'm very hopeful when it comes to the budgeting and the expense tracking, that it's going to be something that's going to be there in your pocket to help you remember the goals, or at least tell you, hey, you're not doing this. But the thing I worry about is it's never going to be able to understand, or at least at this point, it doesn't seem that it's able to understand you, to relate it back to your values, your why, the reason we're trying to do all of this stuff. So we've talked a little bit about budgeting and expense tracking. AI is getting integrated into that, but it's also beginning to get integrated into automated savings and investing. Things like robo-advisors like Betterment, Wealthfront, Acorns are portfolio-based AIs that are running algorithms in order to help you round up, in order to have you invest, quote unquote, correctly. We even have investment things like Acorns that help to round up your dollar every time you spend, so that you're making sure you're optimizing your withdrawals. So how do you feel about those things? Instead of having somebody who's a professional money manager, or even buying an index, you're now buying an AI, which is just a black box of, we have no idea what the hell it's doing.
I've been using Acorns for many, many years. Many, many years. I love it. I'm a big fan of Acorns. If you guys don't know the app, feel free to go check it out. Not sponsored, although it should be. Not gonna lie. But I want to push back on one of the things you said, kind of just to keep the dialogue going and try and pick your brain a little bit. You say like AI in its current model, it doesn't understand you. It doesn't know you the way a good, keyword good, financial advisor would, right? But I would argue that it probably knows you better than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's this thing going around the internet maybe 3 months back, and maybe you guys have heard of it, but you would go into ChatGPT and you would be like, hey, tell me about myself in a way that I wouldn't expect. And it would go through and it would tell you all these different things. And I'll tell you what, I did it myself and it was like, oh, wow, that's very surprising. How do you know that? Did I say that? Did I mention that? And it never forgets. And that's fun. But I would kind of argue that maybe it knows you just as good as a good financial advisor, but would it be able to deploy those tactics and strategies as well? I just don't think so just yet. Just yet.
Yeah, and that's the key word there, right? Just yet. Like right now, when you look at AI, remember ChatGPT came out about 1.5 years ago when it was released to the masses, and that was the worst it's ever going to be. And today, where we are right now, is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only getting better at an exponential rate to which we've never seen before. Us as human beings, we all think linearly. 1 goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4. Well, for them, it goes 1 goes to 3, goes to 6, goes to 12, goes to, and it just continues on like that. It's exponential growth, which is hard for our minds to be able to understand. It's kind of like that doubling a penny every day. If you double a penny starting one day, well, basically by day 31, you have over like $14 million. But we don't think about it.
No, I think that's a solid analogy. Oh, God, continue on.
No,
continue.
It's all good.
Okay, cool.
And using the AI for personal finance is actually even beginning to help with credit monitoring and alerts. Things like Credit Karma and Experian are using AI to predict and suggest credit score improvements. Also to watch your credit scores and make sure that nothing is going wrong. So it's actually staying from the security and alert side, seeing if anything goes weird, if somebody's purchasing something in a different place. We've had those monitors for a long time, but AI is even taking it to the next level and being able to make sure that you're protected while online.
One thing that kind of bums me out, though, is we know the laws of nature. We know the laws of human, right? Where there's good, there is evil, right? While these apps might pop up and be like, wow, this money GPT, right, or whatever you want to call it, has helped me save X amount of dollars, invest more. You know, it's opened me up to a bunch of different opportunities that I wouldn't have kind of known about, right? But on the other hand, bad people can use that as well and kind of get their hands on it. I mean, you've already seen the introduction of bad guys using AI, not just like deep fakes or like, different images and videos that didn't actually happen, but with scammers calling, you know, your son or daughter. They pick up the phone, hello, and then they hang up the phone and they call the parents or the grandparents. And with that, just hello, they've created a whole conversation dialogue to trick those people into saying like, hey, I've been kidnapped. Send me $2,000 via, a money order or something like that. It's crazy work, right? And that's one thing that kind of worries me. Obviously, not just bad people using it, but how do we know if the AI is giving us good information if we ourselves don't know how to invest?
Yeah, that's the scary thing, right? Is the information sound, or is it just hallucinating and telling us something that it just knows we're going to react to? Let's go back a little bit because I do want to get to the risks and limitations of AI. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to talk about the benefits of AI management, just so we can make sure that we shed it in both lights. Before we get there, though, I want to talk about one thing that I think is really important that you brought up that triggered a thought in me. That is people getting deepfaked when it comes to their voice. What I enact with all of my clients as well, especially my older clients, is I tell them for anyone that's important in their life, they need to have a secret word or a secret code phrase that you and that person know. And if you're going to do that, do it away from your phone, do it away from ChatGPT, do it away from technology, maybe go on a hike without your phone for a second and leave it inside the house and tell that person, hey, this is our secret word. If you ever call me and make some weird request, I'm going to ask you for this word or phrase. And therefore that could get you out of a lot of trouble in the future because these things are getting better. It used to be that AI needed at least like 16 hours of voice recordings in order to like create a pretty good thing. I think it's down to like 6 seconds now of what it actually needs to hear a voice to be able to do that. So Dominic, you and I, with how much stuff we have here on the internet, like we're done. We're cooked.
Done for it. Yeah, done for it. We need a for me and my friends, it's not a code word, but it's like, tell me something embarrassing that only I would know about you. It's like, crap. So we need to come up with that for us, Chris. And what would it be? Not gonna share today.
Let's not talk about it
today. Not gonna say today. Not gonna get us today though.
So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of AI for money management. And I think the first one is something you brought up, and that's personalization at scale. AI has the ability to digest massive data sets and tailor advice in just seconds. According to a statistic from the Future Consumer Index, 72% of Gen Z and millennials say that they prefer personalized financial advice rather than the cookie cutter stuff that their grandparents got. So that's amazing that AI is able to do that. Additionally, it's able to have accessibility like nothing we've ever seen before. Therefore, democratizing financial advice without having to pay $200 plus for a financial planner to sit down and do those things with you. Like you said, most people aren't going to go to a financial advisor, not because they don't want to pay the money, but because they're afraid to get judged. They're afraid to look at this stuff themselves. It's going to be a lot scarier to look at it for the first time with somebody they've never met, sitting there looking over their shoulder and being like, tell me more about that.
It's almost like taking a portion of the consequences out of it, right? It's like this. If going to the dentist was all automated, it's an AI machine, it does all everything, the checks, it's teeth scraping, it does all of that, right? And let's say it's really cheap. Let's say it's $20 a month, right? That's your insurance cost for your dentist, for the AI dentist. It's perfect, right? Would you still feel the pressure of flossing? Would you still feel bad if you didn't brush your teeth at night? Do you have enough personal pride in your hygiene to continue that? Or is it the shame that your dentist brings or your hygienist brings when it's like, I can see you, have you been flossing? Well, yeah, I mean, when I can. Well, looks like you haven't been flossing, right? Would that pride go away? Would we become healthier? Or would we become less prideful? What would happen? There's so many variables, there's so many factors that we just can't plan for this early in the stage. Um, but I'm really excited about this. I think people have really adopted AI at such a rapid pace. And to be honest, it's quite surprising. Because I don't know about you, Chris, but anytime AI was ever talked about before ChatGPT, it was like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Skynet's coming. Everybody knows Skynet's coming. Like, why are we doing this? And, ChatGPT came along and it's like, yeah, we're cool with this. Yeah, we love this. We can't live without this now. This is our life now.
Before we get on to the risk limitations, I do want to talk a little bit about those behavioral nudges like you just talked about there. So do you feel that if you had an AI tool that was hooked up to your spending and it sees, hey, Dominic, you're drinking coffee every day, you've hit your coffee budget for the month, would you listen to that the same way you would listen to somebody like a friend or someone you pay to look at that yourself? Knowing that the AI things like, hey, you've hit your coffee budget for the month, or knowing at the end of the month, I have to go and sit down and talk with somebody and we're going to look at that thing. It's the same thing with the flossing. Would you feel that the AI would just telling you, hey, you're not doing this? Because it's not a real person. Like intellectually, that.
Interesting. I'll say this. So the part of me that is optimistic and joyous, I guess you could say, would say, no, I would prefer the AI's version, because to me, it'd be like, oh, this is a helpful reminder. It's like, cool, we're capped out on coffee this month. No problem. That's no problem. Gotcha. So we just won't spend coffee this month. But the human side of me, the more practical side of me says, well, you also have notifications from Duolingo, right? Well, I get notifications from Duolingo saying, we miss you. Where you been? It's been a week, right? And I don't follow that, right? Obviously, I'm not going to let an app control my life. But if that's the direction I want to go and say learning Spanish, well, then why aren't you following the AI? Why aren't you following the app in its teaching? So on one hand, I love the idea of the ChatGPT, but just because an AI is smart and helpful doesn't mean we're not still human. We talk about it a lot. Chris brings it up all the time. We still have these like 2,000-year-old brains from the caveman era, and we still have these tendencies, and we have to break them. And sometimes it's very difficult to break human nature. So I know the AI will be revolutionary, but can it change us in a way that we have yet to see? I don't know. Maybe not. Only time will tell.
Yeah. Only time will tell. And with that, let's talk a little bit about risks and limitations. So one of the biggest risks, and we brought this up earlier in the podcast, is over-reliance on algorithms. AI, as you ask it questions, doesn't understand context. It just tries to answer the question that you pose to it. But that doesn't mean that it's going to ask you the deeper questions. Hey, tell me about your divorce. Tell me about your job loss. Tell me about your values. It's going to answer whatever question it is that you pose to it. It's not going to dive deeper to see why. So if you ask the AI, hey, I want to be less aggressive right now in my investments, it's not going to say, hey, why? Why is that? It's just going to say, yes, okay, in order for you to do that, let's go ahead and do this. But it's not going to know all the other things to ask the questions of why is this person asking this? Is this in line with what they're trying to do? Because its job is to serve us, not to question us and to push back on us when we're acting like jackasses.
And I just want to put the idea out there too, because there are a lot of custom ChatGPTs that people can train. It's like, all right, when I ask this. When I do this, move this way, right? And maybe that's something that we can teach it to do. Teach it to be that psychologist background, right? Kind of like how you have, where it's like, I want to sell all my investments. Like, well, why? What's going on? It's like, life is short. I just want to sell it all. Life is short. It's like, okay. The ChatGPT says, all right, let's sell it all. It's done. All the money is sold. All the investments sold, without like the human aspect, like with a Chris, right? Like, well, why do you want to sell it? No reason. I just want to sell it. Come on, tell me. It's like, well, my best friend died, right? And I don't want to be stuck in this 9-to-5 all my life. I just want to be done with it, and I want to go travel, right? And I don't know if you can open up that quickly with a bot. And it's such a strange relationship, human and android, human and bot. Are you more honest? Or are you less honest? And it's weird because I guess same with humans though. The more honest you are, the better the result. The less honest you are, the less effective the result is. But man, I fear it's going to come down to each person is different, and we're going to have a lot of great reviews, like a lot of great news stories, and a lot of bad news stories. It's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be really up to each individual person to decide their fate in regards to if they want to use it or if they don't want to use it. So I can already see the headlines, like how to automate, like make all this money with ChatGPT. It's like, dude, I already see it. It's annoying, and I already see it.
Yeah, and that makes me worried is that what happens when people start taking risks on action or start taking action on information that's flawed or shallow advice. Because the more and more we start to use AI, we start to just ask it to, we don't even question things anymore. Whatever it says, we're like, okay, that's the God's honest truth. Like AI told me I can do whatever I am. And therefore, people are never actually going to seek out knowledge for the sake of seeking out knowledge by going out into the wilderness and learning. They're just asking ChatGPT and saying like, okay, now I know this, like for sure, this is truth. And if you believe you know truth or you know what the way is and you never question that, that's the most dangerous thing, is being stuck in a pattern of thinking that, God forbid, you find out is wrong way later on.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure you've caught ChatGPT in an incorrect statement where it says like, no, it explains it in detail like it's true, but it's not. And I've had recipes where I make it, and I'm just like, that's way too much sugar. That's way too much salt. I'm not gonna put that much salt. That's crazy. It's ridiculous. And I go with my own experience, right? And it turns out much better. But if you don't know, then you don't know. But the same could be said for working with a financial advisor that maybe isn't in a fiduciary role, that maybe isn't well versed. Well versed. You know, it goes back to our entire way of life as humans. It comes down to trust. How much are you willing to trust?
Trust but verify. I think that's the important thing that we're beginning to lose more and more and more, because we're just saying, oh, it's okay. AI verified it for me. Therefore, I don't have to do the work to try to do that for myself. So that is a huge concern.
Yeah, or worse, you use the AI to verify it. And it's like, well, what are we doing here? Is it true? Is it false? You just don't know. You just don't know. But please continue on, because I kind of interrupted you there. So right back to you.
No, it's all good. The next risk and limitation I want to talk about is data privacy and security. So many of these tools nowadays that are using AI, they require linking your bank account. And privacy concerns are continuing to loom larger and larger. While AI is now protecting your data, that means AI is also trying to steal your data. So we have these two opposing forces, both good and bad, and they're both using whatever tools they can to go about combating one another to steal your things. So the FTC reported over $1.1 million in identity theft in 2024. In addition to what we've had, a lot of this has to do with AI getting even better.
And I assume that number's only going to grow, right, Chris?
That's the assumption. And I think there's another big thing we have to think about is when people are starting to use these algorithms to invest. AI models are really good at looking at training data, but they're also extremely biased in whatever training data they were provided. So that could be a huge thing when you're trying to look at like, oh, it's okay, it can do whatever it can. Well, that's only based off the data that it has. It can't predict other things that has not happened before. At least at this point, it seems to not be able to do that. It doesn't have intuition like human beings do. It just has huge data sets.
And one of the things that I thought about when you were saying that is, how would the economy work? How would everybody's finances look if we all, I don't know, if we all go off the same ChatGPT model, right? It's like we went from the cookie cutter financial advice to custom advice, kind of back to cookie cutter, if you think about it in a way. Does that make sense? Do you get that, Chris?
No, I do. Yeah. So we all said like, I don't want cookie cutter stuff. I want it to all be customized. So we went to customized, and then everyone's like, this is too much work. I don't want this anymore. So then we went to ChatGPT that is saying that it's not cookie cutter. But if you look at everyone's thing, it's giving you the same cookie cutter advice. But it feels like it's not, because it's saying at least your name when it does it.
Exactly. So the pendulum is always swinging. The pendulum's always swinging. It's going to swing back and forth till the end of time. Is there any other bias, any other kind of risks? And I'm sure there's more risks and limitations that we maybe haven't thought of, right? That maybe the viewers thinking like, oh, XYZ. And feel free to drop it in the comments down below. But is there any more that you have for us, Chris?
No, not that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are 1,000 different ones that I'm not even thinking about. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to come to. We're kind of coming to a event horizon where AI is becoming so much more intelligent that I can't even begin to predict what the next issue is going to be. because Silicon Life thinks in a very different way than we do biologically. So the problems that we're going to face are going to be problems that we wouldn't even begin to assume to think about, because we don't think in the same type of way. We all think linearly, but we don't think exponentially. We don't think the way that it happens to think. We have all of these innate drives in us, from biological impulses to procreate, to eat, to find shelter, that AI algorithms just don't have. They think a completely different way that has none of those biases built in, which is really, really cool and could be extremely scary.
I think it's interesting to build a software that will outlive you. Like, think of it. When will ChatGPT die? When will we die? Which one will die first? I don't know. It's just interesting. Interesting to think about.
That's a deeper question than we're here to deal. Maybe we'll deal with that on Friday's podcast.
maybe Friday's pod. Yeah,
that's a Friday philosophical question.
Yep.
But let me ask you the question: where do you think AI is headed from here in finances? Because I'm seeing, and it's already coming down the pipe, predictive planning. We're going to have AI tools that are able to predict income volatility and future financial strains before they even hit. Hey, it looks like the economy is starting to go south. You work inside of this sector of a job. You have this much of a percentage of letting that go. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut back your spending by this much amount of money, so that when that happens, at least you're going to be okay for this many more months.
Yeah.
That all sounds well and good. Another thing could be voice and AI integration, where you can actually talk to your phone. Hey, can I afford blank this month? And you can have a smart assistant offering you financial coaching, offering you financial advice based off of your things that are done for you. And the final thing is emotional tracking. As AI becomes more integrated into all of our different apps, it can start to experiment and detect, hey, you're starting to do emotional spending because I looked at your texts and I can see that you're sad. Or I looked at that you keep on going out to the gym right now. I looked at your location. I see all these things. So is that going to be a hindrance, or is that going to be extremely helpful? And now we have to start to ask all about privacy data. At what point do we step in as human beings and say, hey, this is far too much. You're looking into too much stuff and telling me things that maybe I don't want to know.
No, I think you're right. But it's all about how they package it, right? If you gave me like a Tony Stark, like Jarvis, I'd be like, oh, dude, that's sick. That's pretty cool. Like, I would love that, right? But I think the further down the road we go with AI and how much it infringes on our lives, I feel like the population is going to split in half, right? It's the ones who have it and enjoy it and use it. And it's the ones who say, I don't want anything to do with any of it. Not that I understand its value. I don't want anything to do with it for one way or the other, right? And I don't know what that'll do to our society. I don't think it's a good thing for all of us to be on the one path, right? I think it's good for all of us to kind of be on different paths and test different adventures, but the path has never been more unclear.
Yeah, so that kind of poses the question, is AI the future of financial advice? Should we all go about doing this? And the way I look at it is AI is like your money co-pilot, but you still need to be the person that flies the plane. And the thing that scares me is that more and more people are just giving AI everything. Like, hey, you're in charge. Like, don't let me think. I just want to sit here and not do anything. So AI, I want you to think of it as a useful tool, but it's not the substance of your financial self-awareness. It helps to facilitate it, but you are still the person that needs to be self-aware. Too many people are trying to farm out their self-awareness, all the work I have to put into things, to this AI and allow that to do it for me because I don't want to have to put in the work. And the more that you atrophy that muscle, the worse it's going to get. And that's, I think, what I want people to leave with this, is that, yes, it is a great tool, but it is only a tool. You still need to put in the work.
I think you're spot on. It's got me thinking, when I open up my Bank of America app, right, bottom right corner, there's a little message thing. I think the bot's called Erica something. I don't know how they came up with that one, but we're kind of already seeing the start of it. There's already bots inside the bank, inside of my banking app. What are we, 2-3 versions away from, hey, don't spend that coffee. You said you wouldn't, right? We're only a few generations away. And you said something interesting. Should we go down this path? Should we use it, right? Well, how about this? Can we avoid this path? Or is this just destiny at this point? Is this the direction the wind is blowing and there ain't no wind changes coming? One thing I think it's important to keep in mind is what Chris said is it's a tool. It's a tool. It's not a substitute for critical thinking. It's not a substitute for real knowledge. So use it as such.
So Dominic, before we close out, I'd like to pose you the question again and to our audience members. At this point, based on what we discussed, would you trust AI to manage your entire paycheck?
Let us know in the comments down below. Let us know in the comments down below. I have my answer. Maybe I'll mention it on Friday's episode, but I don't want to sway you too much. I want you to make sure that you're thinking about it. Don't just be, oh, Dom said this. It's Bible. Chris said this. It's God's word. It's like, no. It's not, right? Some things, yes. But I'm just kidding. But, it's so important to flex that critical thinking muscle. Think for yourself. Truly think for yourself. So I hope you ponder that this week, and we'll meet back here on Friday. And maybe you guys can let us know in the comments down below. Maybe you had a week to think about it. Maybe you've changed your thought process. Maybe give it up to the AI, man. Why not? Or, dude, no, I'm not giving it up to the AI. I've seen what it sends me. It's horrible, right? Either or. Let us know in the comments or on Friday. Chris, any final thoughts, any action steps for this week?
Of course, it's an action step. We always have an action step. We're not just here just to talk. We want everyone to leave with something. So for this week, our action step is I want you to pick one AI-powered financial tool and try it out this week. Just one. Whether that's a budgeting app like Copilot or a savings app like Acorns, or even just going to ChatGPT and asking it something like, what are 3 ways I can cut my expenses this month? Take one step towards testing an AI that can help to simplify your finances, and then reflect. Did it feel helpful or did it feel hollow? And is this something I want to continue doing, or do I want to learn this for my own? And then after that, I want you to go and tell somebody about the Fi Guys podcast. Share this knowledge of information of financial excellence so that you can get where you want to go and help somebody along the way in the journey. With that, I'm Chris. He's Dominic. We'll see you on Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. We're the Fi Guys. Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.